And we are live. Hello there. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm going to give you guys a chance, a couple of minutes for some people to join us live. And as you're joining us live, say hello. Let us know where are you joining for, how you feeling, how you doing today.
Mhm.
And let us also know where are you joining in from, and say hello. And if you're watching this on replay, say hello. Let us know where are you watching from as well. And what I would like to say, thank you for being here with us this evening. And um, and uh, to, to, uh, to tonight we're going to share insights into resilience, and this is linked to a sense of hope, a sense of well-being, a sense of to and it's something that's so close, especially these days where there is so much uncertainty. Where I am from, where I'm streaming from, I'm in Melbourne, and we are on lockdown. This is the sixth lockdown, and we thought, what's the best way to, which topic will really kind of resonate the most with most people? And I know that around the world, a lot of people are on lockdown as well. So, welcome to Empowering Conversations, where we come in and share insights into mindset, productivity, what works, what doesn't, and what it takes to actually create and live the life that you want, and how can you overcome things. Because 80% is mindset and 20% is strategy. That's what it is at the end of the day. So it's really important. So I am keeping an eye to see, because I am expecting a couple of more guests. So I am keeping an eye on who's actually coming in to be able to be able to. Yes, and at the same time, I am playing with the screen to see how it looks as well. So, multitasking. Now, uh, b- uh, talking about productivity, multitasking is not ideal. But we gotta do what we gotta do sometimes, and that's what it is. And so I like you guys. I would like to invite you in the conversation. So come in, participate in the conversation, ask questions, and if something resonates with you, let us know what resonates with you. What are you experiencing? How can we help you between all of us? So most of us are experts into mindset and productivity. And Leah is going to join us shortly as well. And she is definitely an expert when it comes down to resilience. That's what she does. And so now here's the thing. What we will share with you will help you think differently, will help you think differently about yourself, your relationships with yourself, your relationship with others, as well as the world around you. And why does this matter? This matters because how we embrace change in our life, how we cope with changes in our life impacts our well-being. And as I said, tonight we're going to talk about resilience. And what does resilience mean? I suppose to different people means different things, and many people believe it simply to it's this ability to push through, to really get through and challenging times. And while most of us have, I'm just going to let Leah in. Leah's joining in the conversation, but there is a lot of background noise, Leah. And as I said, and while most of us have learned in childhood uh, uh, to go through life this way, like really push through and tough situation, it doesn't necessarily have to be like this. That way, if we have the right tool, we don't have to feel like uh, things are really difficult and hard at the end of the day. And there are so many dimensions of human resilience where we all function, and all these dimensions are there to really help us. It's like physical, psychological, mental, spiritual, emotional. So there's all this dimension of resilience that we need to take into consideration. So I like to invite every single one of you. Welcome, Leah, Walter, Mac, great to have you here. And let's start this, because we just had not long ago the Olympics, and every single person that participated in the Olympics, definitely they must have a lot of resilience to be able to put themselves and really train for a long time, to have this determination and consistency to stay the path to get there at the end of the day. So I love to know, what does resilience means to each of you, and let's see if we can really bring this discussion and empower everyone to be able to look at things differently. Who would love to get us started? Leah, would you like to get us started, since you are the leadership coach and you do deal with mental toughness, and that's resilience, and I know that you are following the model of mental toughness. Would you like to get us started?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for hosting the room, Mariana, and hello, Mac. Hello, Walter. Really, really good to see you. And so before we start, Mariana, is there a link to stream to
yes,
the Facebook group? Just so that...
Yeah, I'll give you a link. I'll give you a link they can follow also to, they can also go to live on Facebook. We are live. Let me give you the link to, yes, I'll do that now. While you do that, can I get Walter? Walter, can you share a little bit about resilience and what it means for you while Lee is getting organized? And I'll give her the link. So
yes, okay, I can share. I can get a start. I mean, yeah, resilience can mean many things. I'm actually on my way to become resilient and learning several dimensions of resiliency. The first thing I'd like to say is sometimes a misconception about resilience. In fact, in your definition, Mariana, you said push through. You know, the way we think about resilience is push through, and people think that resilience means to resist and to be strong, which is somehow is true. But in my opinion, resilience is also flexibility, acceptance, capacity to acknowledge what's something negative happening to you, and and responding and acting. That's the first thing that I'd like to say, that resilience doesn't always have to be identified with this toughness. It is mental toughness, but it also means acceptance and flexibility. Then I think a couple of components of resilience in which I'm working on, I have been working on during the years, are first of all responsibility. I think resilience, to build a strong resilience, it means that accepting your responsibility. Don't complain, don't blame others. Take responsibility for your work, your life, your family, your friends, and yourself as well. So I think responsibility is. Do you hear me, guys? Yes, you hear me. Okay, yes. Okay. So I think I mean, one thing which I like to talk about when I talk about resilience is responsibility, and so being responsible for everything happening to you. The second is building an identity, which is something that I didn't actually understand very well in the past. And then during my personal development journey, I understood what it means to build an identity. Building an identity means what kind of person you want to be, And the misconception, the confusion that we have, I was always having, is that feelings are the most important thing for us, which is probably what causes the majority of our problems, because we give too much importance to feelings, while we should give more importance to our mind. And so mind should always be stronger than our feelings. So when we say something like, how do you feel today? That's probably a wrong question to ask, because it doesn't really matter how you feel today. What is important is how you want, who you want to be today, what kind of person you want to be today. Even if you don't feel good, you know that in your mind you want to be that kind of person. So identity is something that I also would like to throw to the table and see if what Mark and Leah and you, Mariana, think about, because it's something that I struggle. This is probably the most difficult thing that I have been learning in my personal development. So mind, having the mind controlling the feelings and not the other way around. Another topic which I can also habits. Last week we also talked about routines and habits. I think habits is also part of resilience, because there is no resilience without habits. You know, things that you do daily, so you with an intention. You know, we talked about journaling, we talked about reflection last week, and I think that's also part of building resilience. So
yeah.
This is probably the main components which I think about when I want to discuss resilience. And so my question to you, I mean, what do you think about this? What you have other components on which you work on? So that's I think that's a start of this discussion. Yeah,
it's important to like kind of go on one side, not to, because there is a lot of components there, and definitely this influences our identity and how we see ourselves. And I like the fact what you said, that it's important to know how we can really rationalize and go through, as opposed to being taken away with our feelings, because sometimes we gotta act on facts, not the feelings, and our feelings can really take us astray, especially if we haven't necessarily train ourselves or reflect on things or get to know ourselves to be able to differentiate when to go with the gut feeling and with your instinct, because that's a totally different conversation, and when to really be rational. So to have that distinction, and a lot of people not necessarily have those distinctions. Yes, totally. I'm with you, Walter. And identity and how we see ourselves, it's really, really important, because if we see ourselves that we are able to overcome this, and we are okay with being challenged, then most likely we will pass through a lot easier in a way. We overcome, because if we know who we are deep down at our core, then we know that we can overcome things. It's only temporary. Whatever is going on, it's not going to hang around forever. So yes, it's here today, but it's not going to be here tomorrow. So in those challenging circumstances and time, that Leah's got a lot of insights as well. So what are your thoughts, Leah? What is your point of view when it comes down to resilience, and especially in times of uncertainty like now?
Yes, thank you, Mariana. And yeah, Walter, your comment on identity there, and identity is a core foundation to how we experience the world, how we make meaning of things. And resilience is a very it's a highly researched topic at the moment, because there, you know, amongst the psychology circles, because there is so many different definitions, and I think it's a great way to open, Mariana, to discuss what does resilience mean to each of us, because a lot of the focus, if we think about two aspects of, I suppose two aspects of personal development, human behavior. We've got the person and what's happening within us, and then we've got the external world, or the system, and how the system is impacting on what's happening to us. And so the big buzzword, of course, is, you know, complex adaptive systems. Now, there's nothing more complex and adaptive than the human system. And Mariana, you'll relate to that, you know, having your medical science background and be, you know, invested your life in, you know, in preventative and in diagnostic healthcare. There's nothing more complex than the human body, right? So, but we have that, so many external layers of complexity with the world around us. And so resilience typically has been researched and been talked about in terms of the individual's response, right? You know, how well we bounce back. Like, I think that's a very old definition now. I think, as someone was saying, that is bouncing back business. It's kind of like where you start with resilience, but it's still core to what we do as coaches, doesn't it? Because if you can't bounce, like, it's the speed of the transition between the shock and the recovery that determines who wins the race and who leads the race, or who falls in a heap and who gets over the line. It's the speed of recovery. And this is also where your identity, when we are so steep or just our identity is formed for us and by us, right? By our carers. And then our whole adult journey really is undoing that and replacing it with who we want to be. And if that were easy to do, none of us would need to have this conversation, and you wouldn't need coaches and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists, right? If you think about, you know, what it takes to actually take your own life, as we've seen this week with one of the New Zealand Olympians from Rio, you know, 24 years old. What state of identity must she have had in what led up to her taking her own life, right? As the absolute extreme. And then the other extreme is you've got people living in the depths of severe poverty and hardships and one thing after another, and yet that spirit to live, that spirit to, like, Frankl's, you know, Viktor Frankl and his philosophy, like his whole perspective on, you know, that they can't destroy me because I would rather be me and what's happening to me in here than to be them doing this to me, right? In essence, right? And so that whole aspect of how we make meaning of things is so core to resilience. And I think by nature, we are born pretty resilient. So there's the nurture and nature aspect as well. But definitely the human spirit and the degree to which a human has a desire to achieve something is directly proportional to their level of resilience as well. And if they won't do it for themselves, they'll do so much more to protect their children, right? So again, it's coming back to what our motivators are. But when we can hook into our motivators and work our identity around alignment with those motivators, then it's like the resilience aspect or the mental toughness aspect is really how are we responding rather than reacting to what our environment is delivering to us, whether that environment is our own headspace or coming at us from the outside. So the identity piece is, I mean, and that's my baby. That's what I create. I help, you know, leaders recreate their identity so that they can create that next level business, the next level impact. Because if we all were in our ideal identity right now, we would be creating and manifesting exactly the business and the lives we want. And we're all on that journey. But gee, you know, I'm not there yet. And so our identity is constantly,
I don't think anyone is. I think every single one of us are on the journey to really strive to become better, to really get to where we want at the end of the day. And I love what you said, that because there is such a big gap from one extreme to the other, and what drives us at the end of the day, why we do the things we do, and what's going to drive us. Because as what's his name, he said, if you have a strong why, you'll find anyhow at the end of the day. And I love I like Simon Sinek in his book, what he says, you know, start with why. And I'm sure every single Olympian that participated, they had a reason to be there, and to train, to be there, to strive, to really for excellence at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, mental resilience is about being aware, being able to adapt, being able to make decisions fast in those moments, to have a positive mindset, to be able to overcome whatever's coming our way. So what is your take, Mark, and when it comes down to resilience? How do you see it? What do you see? Why do you see it as important?
I think it is really important. And before I go on, I really love the conversation. As always, I'm learning a lot from you guys, and like the aspects that you highlighted, each of you is really different. And I think I'd like to like touch more on to what Walter and Leah has said. Like for Walter, it is more on responsibility. He wants that, like for us to take like personal responsibility and accountability, I can say. And with what Leah said, I think the key word for resilience for me in the past months and years of having COVID is bouncing back. But before anything else, when we talk about resilience, it acknowledges the fact that something does not go the way we plan. Something is, you know, is not okay. And that, I think that is one of the most important things, that we acknowledge that things are not happening the way we plan it or the way we expect it to be. That's why we need to be resilient. Therefore, it is always an understanding that it is an inside game. And as what we said, like it's the person's spirit, it's the person's grit, it's the person's passion, the want, the call to like be great and be better and stand up again after you fall down. People outside cannot help you with that. Like really, it has to start with you, and it will start if we first acknowledge that there are really problems and we need to really stand up and bounce back, because we believe that what we are pursuing, what we are doing, our dreams and goals are bigger than the circumstances that we are in at the moment. So being resilient is really more on, you know, having that capacity to turn the tides the way you want it, and stand up again in the face of difficulty. And the thing is, everyone has that, and these things and circumstances are the ones that makes us stronger. But not everyone has, as what Leah shared, some people decide to just end their lives, and it's a decision for them. Of course, we cannot judge them. We don't know why they came up to such decision. But the thing is, being strong is not for everyone, but everyone can be strong, and it is a conscious decision. And even if like we feel down, if we really want to be better, it will be the first step for us to being more resilient, and we can grow that in time. So awareness and self-awareness is key for you to be very responsible, for you to bounce back. And I think that's my take on resilience. Back to you, Mariana.
Thank you so much, Mac. Yes, well said. Definitely, if we don't have self-awareness, and I'm sure every single one of us, and I'm wondering if the audience, you guys, seeing this, the importance of having self-awareness, and looking at things. And I love the way you put it, because Mac, because it is an inside out job. No one from outside can really, they may really empower us to, or be able to really guide us to see things from a different perspective. But at the end of the day, it is a personal journey, and it is an inside out job. So it's not.
And I think the important thing too, Mariana, is that resilience is supported by skills, and skills are learnable.
Yes.
Everybody, like Max said, everybody can become strong. Everyone can learn the skills. Not everybody will. And the more I come back to, like really unpacking what on earth a leadership coach really does, right? What are people paying for? We are teaching and imparting skills, transferable skills that can truly change people's lives. Truly. Like, it sounds like such a throwaway line. It sounds like such a cliche. But what we're talking about here, that the four of us in this room, we would have totally different approaches to the same problem. And yet there is no only one way or one right way, but that is that's the beauty of development, right? And bringing it back to bite-sized pieces, that wherever anybody is, if they are in the depths of despair right now, or whether they're almost at the top of their mountain and they are so excited because all their goals are happening, and whichever extreme, and everyone in between, there are skills, there are tools, there are learnings to be had that can help. So it's not just talk therapy. It's not just think and you're going to change. It's actually think and do.
No,
and then sometimes the doing is undoing, right? And sometimes the doing is actually just sitting back and like waiting and listening and watching, right?
Totally. I love that. I think sometimes we gotta unlearn what we've learned that is not necessarily serving us, helping us in our journey. So sometimes it is unlearning and then learning new skills and then moving forward. It's not, sometimes it can be challenging. That's why we are talking about resilience, because it's not for everyone. It's not for the faint-hearted, because once you open a can of worms, then you find more and more. So it's sometimes.
But what if you? But you can't not open it, right? Yeah. Because if you are driven to the place of opening that can, then not opening it is still worse than opening it, right? Yeah. That's the message. That's my message to people. If they are that close, if they're speaking to me about potential, if they're, looking at, do I need a coach? Do I, then who am I signing up with, or which program or which coach? If we're having a conversation, there's a Band-Aid to be ripped off somewhere, right? And if we don't, it's just going to get worse. It's going to fester. It's like, we're not here by randomly, right? And I think the urgency around ripping off the Band-Aid, you know, it's like that's the piece where I think when things are okay, we can be lulled into a false sense of security. Things are not okay at the moment. COVID has made things
That's true.
not okay, right?
That's true.
And
So
the other thing that the most people need to understand, I mean, it's not necessarily, if it wasn't COVID, would have been something else. It's not necessarily COVID. It can be other things, but and when things happen now, it's COVID now, but this actually brings things out even more. So if there was anything festering or anything that's not necessarily potentially working for us or whatever, that when something happens, that's when all the things come out and they come out to the surface. So it's important to know, because that's nothing to do with COVID. It's the way we see things ourselves. Yes, COVID is there, but how do we deal with the situation that we are in? How are we reacting? Are we blaming? Are we justifying? Or are we are able to take responsibility and look for a solution? Because you can really stay with the problem and dwell on it, or we can look for the solution. And resilient, it's being able to look for the solution no matter what, to have that optimism that things will change and things will shift at the end of the day. Walter, because you did bring it with identity and goals and being able to really use our minds, our rational minds, to overcome our feelings in those challenging times. Talk a little bit more about that, Walter, because I mean, I know with your business and what's going on,
yeah,
it's a little bit down your way as well.
Yeah, that I must admit that it's probably the most difficult thing that I have been learning, that I'm still learning. I'm still trying to improve. So because it also depends on the way we are made. So I think sometimes we have a DNA which is more that the chemistry is stronger feelings, is we are more reactive. And so, say for example, I'm that kind of person that I can seem like a calm person perhaps, but I have strong feelings. And so that in the past I had this problem that and when I have good feelings, I feel very good. When I have bad feelings, I feel very bad, and I tend to to get how can I say, overwhelmed by these bad feelings. And so are gone. I think Mark and no, okay. I think I had something wrong in the screen. Okay, and so then when I understood that this is possible, this can be changed, then I started to try different techniques and different ways. One is, for example, meditation. Meditation has helped me a lot because meditation is a way to train your mind and to make your mind stronger, to stay with the problem. So meditation helps you to stay. The problem is that we usually don't stay with problems. We tend to overreact to a problem. And meditation helped me to stay. And when my mind wants to go somewhere, I bring it back. My mind wants to go somewhere, I bring it back. So that's the first advice I can give to anybody who wants to try to control their feelings and try to become stronger with the mind. Meditation is a way to train your mind. So this is what I do and that I saw a huge improvement when I started to meditate. Also to meditation, not only meditation, but also reading spiritual things. I mean, spiritual, not talking about religion, but I think spirituality is the spiritual dimension is important when we come to resilience, and so which is a part of identity. So what type of person you want to be? Loving kindness. I think is part of the spirituality. There are techniques of loving kindness meditation. I have tried loving kindness meditation, and it's huge benefit. The same as gratitude meditation. So you train your mind to step into gratitude, because like it's true that when scientists say that your mind cannot have a happy and positive and negative feeling at the same time. And so when you have a negative feeling, if you can replace it with a positive one, gratitude one, you can't be angry at something if you are being grateful for that thing. So, and if I'm angry at Mark because Mark is doing something to me, I should immediately try to think all the positive things that Mark is doing me. But we are programmed, our brain is programmed to fixate on the negative and not on the positive. And so that's also something, Mariana, that I have been working on years and years on this, and I'm still on that. So
that's a great point, Walter. Totally, it's a great point, because our mind cannot think of two things at the same time. So, and when we notice the moment we notice that we've got a negative thought, actually the human beings are the only one that we've got this innate ability to be able to shift a train of thought. So we can choose consciously, but this requires a little bit of practice and willingness to do things differently, and it's not going to happen overnight. So you got to consciously train ourselves to shift from negative to positive in those moments. So being able to do that in those moments when either someone says something or we are challenged, or it does not matter the circumstances, to have this ability to change from the way we think in the moment, to be able to empower ourselves, to have the sense of gratitude no matter what. It has to be cultivated. This has to be cultivated, because it's not going to happen overnight. And we do have, as human beings, a tendency to look more towards the negative as opposed to the looking at the positive side, definitely. And I love what you said, that spiritual side of us needs to be nurtured, because that comes down with our purpose, comes down to what we value, and our value drives our decision making. That's how we make decisions, and being able to and that really comes down to really being resilient at the end of the day, to be able to go with what you value and what you want, as opposed to what someone else wants. And most people live, I'm thinking, someone else's life, because someone else chose that for them, and that's what they believe that they should do. So building resilience is really, really important. Totally. Mac, what are your take? Because I love what you actually say, inside out game, and Walter really highlighted this now, to have this sense of gratitude. How do you see this as part of resilience?
Actually, I'd like to touch on what Walter said about gratitude, because I think gratitude really is the antidote for like regrets, and for you to start being resilient. Because no matter what happens, when you think about it, there are other people who are experiencing a lot like bad than what you're experiencing. Like, for example, all of us have experienced the effects of COVID and the pandemic, but if you think about it, a lot of people lost their jobs. And if you can like go to like on a deeper level, like for example, we are on StreamYard, we're online, we have mobile phones, and 70%, 80% of the people in the world doesn't even have a phone. They don't even have electricity. Like they don't even have like good water to drink. So what am I like, if you're going to think about it, what am I complaining about? But if you have like that spirit of gratitude, you always remind yourself, like, I'm thankful for what I have. I'm thankful that I have this house. I'm thankful for the people that have been working with me, even if this is really a very trying time and challenging times for everyone. And I'm grateful for the clients who are still with me, and at least I'm having a conversation now. So if we are like starting to like think on how grateful we are for the things that we have, it will be a good start for us to like be more resilient, because as it's an inside game. And just like what Leah shared a while ago, she was thinking on what really is it, why leadership coaches are like and are needed in the world, and what do we really share? We share skills, but at the end of the day, that's why I always choose clients and people that I want to work with, because even if we are there willing to share the skills to them, if they don't commit like 100%, it will be a waste of time for both of us, right? So just starting like sitting down and think of the things that you are grateful for will give you like a head start just to start to be resilient. Because of course we're just humans, we feel sad sometimes, we feel down, especially when things happen like by the minute, by the second. But if you always remind ourselves now, okay, I'll figure this out. I think that statement really helped me a lot in the past years. I'll figure it out. That's always I'm telling that to myself whenever I feel I face challenges. Well, I'll figure it out. But the truth is, I don't have any idea what I'm gonna do about it. But I'll figure it out. I know that I can figure it out. So yeah, I think that is a very very good point. Gratitude is really a very very good point and very important in this discussion.
Definitely, and I love what you're saying, and I'm sure most people will resonate with this. I'll figure it out, even though you don't know, you don't know what's going to happen. But when you're saying those words to yourself in those moments, you feel differently within yourself. And the other thing, what really resonated with me, to your clients to commit, because at the end of the day, if they are not committed, they're not necessarily going to get the results that they wanted. So there is a big difference in being interested or being committed, because being committed, you will do whatever it takes to follow through, to get there, to do the training, to read the book, to enroll in the course, to upgrade your skills, to whatever it is at the end of the day. And as Leah said earlier, all this we can learn. It's not like we cannot learn. All these skills are learnable, and we've got so much within ourselves. The only thing I think most people don't believe within themselves, and I didn't believe in myself either until someone else believed in me before I believed in myself. It takes, I would say, sometimes it takes sometimes, and having the courage to really follow through and stay the path, that's what's really really important. And yeah, and then we got to do something about it, because if we don't do anything about it, nothing is going to change. So taking action towards what we want, it does not matter what it is, but it's important to follow through, to really take action and follow through, to do something about it, to be able to follow what we want to do in our lives. And I'm sure Leah will be able to share even more what it comes down to. To have this mental toughness, as they say, and commitment is part of having a really mental toughness. Yeah, so go ahead, Leah, and share your insights into, and why is it really important to have this commitment towards ourselves, and why we do the things we do.
Yes, what comes to mind is the research interviews that I did last year with 25 women in different science and technology roles and at different stages of leadership. And I was looking for women who saw themselves as successful in their field, and I wanted to understand what their success strategy was. And like, there were young women, mid-career, professors, so across academia, a lot of engineering and highly technical roles. And I think the common theme that made them stand out from their peers, like some of them had been through top talent programs as well, others was sheer grit and staying the course, because they believed that their work would create positive change that needed to happen. So it was almost that they disassociated, like, their feelings, like going back to Walter's point, how am I feeling? No. These women had all those feelings, but that was not driving them. It was the vision they had of the value of the work. So it was a very interesting perspective on, like, where they put their focus. They weren't, I believe in me. It was nothing like that. Was not where their focus was. The focus was the value of the work to the world. And they just had to find a way to get that work out there, to get into those environments where that work could flourish, right? And I think this is in the innovation space. This is some of the gold, if you like, of someone who is intensely curious and drawn towards engineering type, deep study and deep innovation type work, as opposed to human behavior and the dynamics between people. That wasn't so much of interest to them, and yet they were fabulous communicators, each and every one of them. So it was just interesting where they were, which stake were they putting in the ground, right? Whereas a sports person, like, you know, who comes to mind is the high jumper, the last woman, the Australian woman that got the silver, McDermott. And after every jump, she went back to her notebook and everyone was really curious. What are you writing in your notebook? And that was the talk of the town the next day. Everyone wanted to know what she was journaling about. You know what she was journaling about? She completely cut us. She looked at the score, but she then went straight to her notebook. She was self-rating that last jump. She was analysing what she did and then what does she need to focus on for the next jump.
Now that's
steely-eyed focus. Focus again on the outcome you want to deliver, not on whether I'm feeling happy or sad, not whether I'm feeling yes I can or no I can't. Right? I think they have all that going on as well, but that's not where their attention goes. And this comes back to commitment is only important, Mariana, if you want to create something, if you want an outcome. If you don't, you can't manufacture commitment. Like, I've tried, right? We've all tried.
That's so true.
We can't manufacture that in someone else. You can't cook it up, right?
No.
And you would know that more. You would know that better than most of us with what you've been through in your family, right? Around the commitment to change. It's got to come from within.
It's definitely, and I love what you're saying with all those women that you interviewed. They did have a vision. They did value something. They were committed and they knew what they wanted and they were focusing on what they wanted. And the Olympian, to really be able to self-reflect that's quite something. And Walter did start this to be able in those moments, and this is what Walter was talking about, in those moments to be able to, with the rational mind, it doesn't matter what you're feeling, if you're feeling good or if you're anxious or if you fear or if you're thinking I'm not going to get the score that I want to get the medal, it does not matter. So she was really reflecting on herself, and I'm sure she would have been assessing herself accordingly. No wonder she's an Olympian. That's
and her rituals, like when she, you know, it was pure, like it was everything we talk about here, you know, and it's so precise, and it's very practiced, it's very deliberate. And then there's and then what they're talking out loud to themselves, and then they're drawing energy from the crowd. Like they're leading every step of the way, but someone has led them. Someone has believed in them, like Mariana, you said. Someone else had instilled that in them to even dare to think they could one day compete at that level.
I really love dare to think that way. Like what I'm doing now is definitely not, I never would have thought that I would be doing what I'm doing now. Definitely I wouldn't, but for them to compete at that level, it's a team. Would have taken a team. It's not a single person sport and achievement, because there is a team behind it. They've got coaches, they've got physio, they've got doctors, they've got training partners, they've got accountability. The family is behind them 100%. I've got a colleague. He wakes up at 4:00 in the morning to take his daughter swimming. So that's commitment, and this is like 4 days a week or something. That's a lot of commitment and determination to be able to put the time and the effort to get there. And some people are putting the effort and they're not getting there, but it does not matter. They are in the arena, they are doing it, they're taking action, they're following through because they are committed. So that's what it comes down to. And I love what you said, Leah, because in times of uncertainty like we've got now, having those routine, those practices, being consistent, that's what most people and most successful people fall on, because they train themselves to practice something on a daily basis. And when things don't go quite well, and there is a lot going on, and they gotta make decisions, and they gotta there is no feelings there. So you gotta decide really rational, and it's gotta be done really fast. Like she would have had to jump again, so she needed to compose herself and go again. You got to be ready, and that's what it takes. So yeah, totally.
And that was over a 3-hour period, right? That event takes 3 hours. So imagine the roller coaster they're all on, and their self-regulation mechanism for that long a period. It's not just half an hour, right? It's not a sprint. It is like a marathon, with the whole stadium seeing every single movement and emotional reaction you have, what the look on your face. It's so invasive. Who would want to do that? You know?
Yeah.
Well, hey, you went and done the marathon. Yeah. It's still a marathon. It's not the Olympics, but it's a marathon on a marathon. So I think you would have had a lot of cameras on you as well at some stage. So I'm wondering who's doing that. I think you and the arena as well. So come on. That's funny. Funny, Leah. I love that. Yes,
May
Walter.
I Mariana, quickly say something, because I like what Leah said about scoring. So this athlete, I like that, because I have a scorecard. I score myself, and I have probably a tiny fraction of the resilience of an athlete, because I don't want to compare myself. So to say to the people that it's easy sometimes to, actually, I don't understand how people don't score themselves, actually, because it's very easy. So I have two scorecards, one for my personal life and one for my business life. And in the morning, it takes me 5 minutes to score my previous day, several dimensions, and you can decide whatever. So you can score your kindness, your boldness. On business, I score my time allocation, my results, my attitude with my teammates. I have an Excel sheet. And even it's easy to visualize statistics, because you can see when the score goes up or down. It's just a Google sheet. And so this is to say that mental resilience can also be achieved with the tactical and hacks. It's also a profound job that you coaches, of course, do very well, and it's absolutely needed. But then sometimes there are these simple hacks that it takes a couple of minutes every day, but if you build one day after the other, then it's an accountability system, it's a resilience system. Because for me, at the end of the month, I look at my chart and I say, okay, this week I was bad on kindness. Let me see what happens. And then I go in my journal, I see that I have been, discussing with my wife, and something strange happened. And then I try to understand how if I have to fix that, because if it's for too many days that my kindness is low, and in my identity I want to be a kind person, then I have to work on my kindness, and I have to put it in my conscious mind. I even use reminders, because sometimes the problem is that we can meditate in the morning, but then during the day we go on autopilot, and the feelings get over, and the subconscious mind get over. And so sometimes I use my phone to remind myself in some points of the day, stay calm, be kind, win the day. It's simple hacks. And so to the people listening, I also recommend that they do a profound work, but they also try to use simple things that they can daily improve their resilience. That's what I wanted to add. I like the score, and I like what you said, Leah, about the scoring. And also, I'm impressed by the fact that everybody was trying to understand what she was journaling about, because people see it's so strange to journal. I mean, to write things. My friends, sometimes I don't speak to my friends that I journal every day, because they think I'm crazy, or they laugh at me. Say look, this, which is for me, it's so natural that I have to write down what happens, because I have to know how I was yesterday. Anyway, so I'm done. Sorry, over to you.
And that's okay. That's a really good point, because what gets measured gets done, what gets scheduled gets done. So you'll be able to track yourself, and knowing that. Seeing where you are and what's going on now, actually you can go back and see what did happen that around that time, on that day, that I wasn't really kind to myself, and you can reflect on that. Not too many people are doing it, though. That's the thing too, because it's sometimes it doesn't feel good to go on reflection and to really analyze yourself. It's something that works, and it's really important. Yeah, go ahead, Mac.
I might
being so vulnerable, Walter.
I might try what Walter just said, just like the journaling. I'm on my supposed to be my 7th day since last week. I missed one day, but I'm enjoying it. The simple things that I think that's important. I think we should try that. No, people should try that, like measuring these things and giving ourselves like simple reminders. Because like for me, the first thing that when I heard Walter was sharing it, I was like thinking, oh, maybe I'm just scared rating myself, because I know that I'm gonna fail. so maybe and this time I'll try that.
And that's okay. Even if you don't do it, or you're not consistent, as long as you go back. But when you do that, be compassionate, be kind, be nice to yourself, because then
Correct.
most likely you will go back and do it again. But if you say, if you kind of blame yourself and things, then that's not going to happen actually. So
Correct.
nice.
That's why it's important, the
It's
tactics,
important
like what Walter said.
recognize.
Simple tactics
Okay, let
can
me
work.
let me give you another advice, Mark. Since you are on this
Go.
experiment, which is, I think you will find the way that works for you. Because for me, I'm even still changing the way I'm journaling. Because at the beginning, every day I was trying to journal in a long form, and it didn't work. Because you are not always creative, and because you don't always have that much time to stay and journal. And so then I started to, and then I found my way. My way is that I journal very briefly in the morning. I have a couple of questions asked me. What worked? That 1, 2, 3, 4. What didn't work? And this didn't work. What I need to improve? And this. You will see that at some point it will take you 5 minutes. Then when I'm more creative, say usually in the weekend I have more time, then I spend like an hour journaling, but in a long form, and the morning pages and these things that so that's why I say, don't think that there is one way and then you will find your way. Experiment, and then you will find your way.
At the end
Yeah,
of the
thank
day,
you.
it has to be what works for you, Mac. And
That's true.
the thing is, I know, Walter, you're doing things in the morning. There's been research done. If you do this in the evening, and then when you wake up in the morning, you wake up with a sense of purpose, because you're setting up what's the three most important things that you need to do the following day. And also, if you ask all these questions before you go to bed, our subconscious mind is going to start working for us when we are sleeping. So who knows, by the time you wake up, maybe you dream something and you find your answers to whatever problems or you had. So I think it's important to continue this conversation when it comes down to resilience, because there are so many aspects of resilience. And this is a really important conversation. So we may pick this up next week and continue with resilience. And so we can... thank you so much to every single one of you. It's important at the end of the day, to look at what we believe, what's our identity, to develop really to embrace and develop our social skills, to develop our network, to see who's around us, who's in our corner, to embrace change, to have a goal, to have a purpose, to have something to look forward to, and have a routine at the end of the day. And we'll be able to be a lot more resilient, so we can learn a lot from the athletes and the Olympians. And thank you so much to everyone, single one of you. Please ask questions, make comments, and whatever you're asking, we'll be able to answer the following week. So thank you for being here with us this evening. Thanks for watching this. Have a good evening, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.